On June 23rd of 1965, Marvin Martin, a cousin to Fred and Edwina, had called the local police department and asked if they would do a welfare check on him because he hasn't been able to get a hold of his cousins for a few days, which wasn't common. Normally he was able to call them by phone and get a hold of them, or one of them had stopped by and caught up on the week. So these two police officers later in the day end up making their way out there to 1815 Driscoll Street and start approaching the house. And one of the officers says that something feels off, something feels wrong, all right? And they approach the front door, knock on it. Nobody answers. Wait a few minutes, knock on some windows in the front, nobody answers. They check the door, and the door's locked. So as it appears, everything is locked from anybody coming in from the outside, all right? So they end up going to the back of the house now and notice that, one, nobody's in the house, and the house looks really put together and neat. Two, there is food laid out on the table in the kitchen as if somebody had ate a meal. Three, on the back door, there were large flower pots specifically placed in front of the door. So they felt like that was enough evidence to enter the home. So they proceeded to break into the house and started conducting a search, just your basic search, essentially looking in the rooms, calling their names, and they didn't notice anything for multiple minutes. And one of the officers is standing in the kitchen and says that he just gets a feeling to check the refrigerator because food's out, nobody's there, so he opens the refrigerator, looks around. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, except for the fact that he remembers, like, noting in his head, wow, these people have a ton of meat. Just meat stacked on meat, stacked on meat, stacked on meat in the fridge, all finely cut and well put together, packaged meat, all right? Well, he goes to close the refrigerator. Actually, I should say icebox. He goes to close the icebox because it was in 1965, and that's what it was. You know, we didn't have fridges like we do now back then. But just as he was closing the door, he catches eye of the vegetable drawers at the bottom, and there are two human heads in there. One in either side of the drawers, all right? So
where else would you keep a human head?
Right?
In the vegetable drawer, duh!
Yes, absolutely. This is the premise for one of the most popular murders of all time, and it's still unsolved to this day. And while that's crazy enough, there is so much more to this. Like, so much more to this. So the cops start doing their checks, right? And they have all their investigators come in. They have a medical professional come in. This medical professional says that whoever did this had a lot of knowledge of anatomy, knew what they were doing. They took their time. The bodies were drained of blood in a professional manner. They noticed that the head of Edwina was shot. She was shot in the back of the head. The husband or father, Fred, had a claw hammer to the back of the head, also notating his eyes were gouged out. So as they're checking around the house, they figure out that the bodies had been drained in the bathroom, intestines, internal organs had been flushed, stuffed down the drain, gotten rid of. While still very neat, there was still evidence of this happening, okay? Well, as they're continuing their search, they realize that there is one splotch of blood, right? The whole house was super clean, like out of the ordinary clean, except for what was in the bathtub and this one splotch of blood that was on the keyhole to their son's room. Their son was Charles Rogers, okay? So, this is where it starts getting weird. I'll tell you a little bit about Charles Rogers. So, Charles Rogers was a World War II veteran. Everybody that knew him describes him as extremely intelligent, extremely intelligent. You know, when you meet those, it's so much more than that. You know, when you meet those people that just stand out, like they're awkwardly intelligent, that's how a lot of people described him.
What's his name again?
Charles Rogers.
Charles Rogers. Okay.
So he was a little bit awkward to be around, but it was probably because of his intelligence.
He's like autistic or something.
Yeah, it could be. You just see things a little bit different. So he had a degree in nuclear physics.
Whoa.
Right. The only job that he had outside of the military was he worked for Shell for 10 years as an oil seismologist, and he was known as in the industry as being one of the most proficient people out there to find oil and rare earth minerals, gold, silver, things like these. He just had it. Where he said it was going to be, it was going to be, okay? And
that's pretty amazing.
Here's the weird part. They start investigating, you know, what's going on in the house. Did he have any reason for intent? And he had a very strange relationship with his parents. Actually, he was just strange in general. Every single day, there wasn't one day this didn't happen, he left the house before the sun came up. He never got home until the sun was down. He did not communicate with his parents. He walked straight in, went up to his room. His room had a lock on it with a key on the outside, as we were just talking about. He communicated with his parents through notes under the door. Super strange, right? Like, so awkward. Imagine, you know, only communicating with your parents in this way.
When did it start? Because it wasn't like that his whole life, obviously.
No. How he got to here, okay? I'm giving you all his backstory leading up to it. He was a World War II vet straight out of high school, went to school, became a nuclear, he got his nuclear physics degree. He went to school he went to work with Shell for 10 years. He quit his job for a reason that nobody knows of, just out of the blue quit, okay? He moved back home with his parents and lived with him for a few years because this was in 1965. Some of the details were a little bit hard to find, and also where we're going with this also makes these details not that important. So they figure out he had some motive, okay? So his motive was there was a long history of his parents abusing him, manipulating him, taking advantage of him. Because he was such a smart guy, he was really good with money, finances, and has always lived a really successful life. As he was in the military, he was buying land and property and things like that. His parents, on 2 different occasions, forged his signature to sell those properties and took the money from him. They would manipulate and try and con him out of money. His father was a bookie, and his mother was a codependent witch. You know what I mean? So he had to deal with abuse growing up. His father was always hanging out with unsavory characters, criminals, whatever. Being a bookie is illegal. So,
Right.
his dad, from everything I've read, was one of those tough guys. Was a real tough guy, real hard on him. You know what I mean?
I thought I saw a bug, but it was your mouse. I was about to smack it.
But okay, so this is where some of the weird stuff starts coming in. So he was never seen again. Literally disappeared off the face of the earth. Nobody saw him ever again. Charles Rogers was never.
Why would he package all that meat up
again? I know. It was really strange. And it's really strange that he killed his dad in such a rough way. Now, remember, this isn't confirmed. This is just what everyone assumes happened here, okay? They've never solved this. Everything was perfectly placed for there to be a very clear idea and understanding of what had gone on here, okay? You got to remember, he was making a ton of money with Shell, left his job for no reason to move in with his parents, and then this happened a few years later, and he disappeared.
Okay, there's no evidence of his blood in the house?
None.
Like of him dying there and just being taken?
Nope. It seems like a perfect setup. There was blood on the keyhole, and he was never to be seen again. All right? Well, a book came out, Man on a Grassy Knoll. Okay? This is a JFK book. So, this is what they say in their book, is this kid at the time was extremely intelligent and got into the war, did everything that he was told, grew through the ranks in the military, learned how to fly. He was a pilot, went to school for nuclear physics. During this time, in the 60s, the CIA was just starting to grow and rise up and start to get into all these other industries, and one of the main industries that they were in that allowed their agents to be around the world while simultaneously controlling the oil market. And you got to remember, what is the currency that runs the entire oil industry around the world? It is the US dollar, and we go to war with anybody that tries to combat that, right? Mm-hmm. It is only the US dollar in every country. We own the oil industry, period, okay? We have a total monopoly and lockdown on that.
That is so messed up that we make other countries' resources only be like what is the word for it? Distributed, sold under our currency.
Yep.
Like, that's so terrible.
I mean, it's a really smart business decision. Like, I understand that gives us a certain amount of power in the world that makes us a global leader and threat, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, they say that due to everything that he had going on, he would have been a perfect CIA recruit. Literally couldn't be more perfect. He's got nuclear physics background. He is a pilot. He had exemplary reports in the war. He was disconnected from people enough to where he didn't have much of a social life. He was committed, finished everything he did. He was one of the hardest workers ever, and he was in with Shell for 10 years, you know what I mean? And then what's weird is he quit for no reason. All right, moved back in with his parents for a few years, and they're claiming that he was I'm drawing a blank, ADD brain right now. Who's known for killing Kennedy? What's his name again? Harvey Oswald. Okay.
Yeah.
So according to this book, he was a stand-in for Lee Harvey Oswald. That it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald who took the shot. It was Charles Rogers. They look very similar, and they do kind of look similar. So, not a ton, but I mean, you could do things that would make them look similar. Add freckles, things like that. They both had similarly big nose, kind of same shaped square jaw with like a round chin or whatever. Of course, there's no records or confirmation that he was ever in the CIA. But how did he just disappear? He literally disappeared, never to be heard of again. Never. So what they think happened in this situation, and I haven't read this book, all right? I just picked up the story. But what I think, what they're claiming happened is that he moved in with his parents, okay? And when he was in the military, a lot of times the CIA will recruit almost like a subcontractor, okay? So you're working with Shell and you're subcontracted through the CIA. You'll get paid through the CIA and you get paid through Shell. You know, you're doing something for your country. Well, they believe that he got contracted on as a full-time agent, and that's why he left Shell. It's also the reason why he would leave every day before the sun got up, not come home until the sun went down. He was trying to hide himself. He was doing CIA operations, and those operations happened to be in that Texas town, okay? Well, they think that his parents, being what they were, somehow got into his room, got into his diary, and read that he was a part of the JFK assassinations. And this gave him the green light to do what he always wanted to do this whole time. And what held him back this whole time was the fact that they were the perfect cover. Right?
Okay.
You know? So if you're a CIA agent, and you need no history, you need to be disappeared. What's the best way to do that? Sleep at your parents' house. Like, you know what I mean? Well, he already hated his parents. And clearly the way that he killed his dad, everything was done in such a perfect way that he built a story that he was crazy. Locked the house from the inside out, made it very clear that they were going to assume it's him, and then he disappeared. Bam. Gone. Wild, right?
So what made anybody connect the JFK assassination to him?
Okay,
that seems like a huge stretch.
It does seem like a huge stretch, but they started connecting him by first connecting him to the CIA, working on his job history, and apparently, like I said, the CIA had very heavily subcontracted agents in the oil industry. That's how we took over the oil industry, all right? Well, there were those three guys that can be seen on the day of the JFK assassination that's being walked away from the scene by the police. Like, there's an officer in front, three guys, and then two officers in the back, and a bunch of people have a theory that these are CIA agents, whatever, and they believe that he was one of those people, along with certain photographs and things like that, where I guess Lee Harvey Oswald didn't look as similar, but either way, okay, that's just one theory. Get this. He was an expert in ham radios, which was used a lot for operations and communicating, and spoke 7 languages.
Oh. He
Dude,
was for sure in the CIA.
This kid's value, like, if I look at him, he's so valuable.
He's also the most basic looking man ever, which is exactly what's perfect for the CIA. He's the most basic looking person that exists.
I know.
He's a total normal average white dude.
Yep.
And he has all of these qualities. Like,
like literally couldn't get more perfect. A pilot, a World War II vet, antisocial, extremely intelligent, nuclear physics degree, and spoke 7 languages and an expert in ham radios. Like, oh my God, dude. This is like the whole CIA rolled up into one
and
man.
Works as a seismologist in oil.
Right?
That's a pretty big deal.
So, here's my thought. Because I'm not huge on conspiracy theories. I hate JFK. Like, the whole story's interesting because, yes, a president died. We will never know the reason. Never. Unless the CIA legitimately was involved and they declassify those documents one day, right? When everyone's dead and gone that could have ever had anything to do with it. Maybe multiple generations of people gone even.
I think it's been confirmed they were involved. They just will not release how.
I mean, nothing's been confirmed. Like,
Dude,
politically
even
confirmed with documentation.
Dude, I've heard so many people who are the most anti-conspiracy theory ever be like, yeah. Hassan literally was just talking about it the other day.
Well, I'm just going to keep an open mind. I'm not willing to go down there because here's the thing. I need hard evidence. I have to have it.
I think there is, though.
There's not.
I think there is something that was released that
You're talking about the guy that which coincidentally
I can't remember because I
Charles
haven't
Rogers
looked into it enough.
Was connected to, that was confirmed that he was there, that the Louisiana district attorney wanted to press charges against, like Perry or something like
I'm
that.
not
something
talking about
Perry.
that. I'm talking about just...
You are talking about that because that's the CIA agent that was confirmed down there.
Okay, but I'm not talking about Charles Rogers. I'm talking about...
I didn't just say Rogers. I just said Perry or Peary.
I know. I'm saying that this whole conspiracy theory with him being a stand-in for Lee, whatever the heck, Harvey Oswald.
I'm not talking about that.
I don't know anything about that. I'm just simply talking about the CIA being involved in his assassination.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why people are so sure that the CIA was involved was because of an associate of his. Who was there.
Okay, so this connection is like kind of the connection for everything.
There is a connection. Like, there's a legit connection. But here's the thing, though. Like, I love conspiracy theories. I will go down conspiracy theory rabbit holes all day long because it's fun to theorize and it's fun to think about all these crazy possibilities and everything. But when the rubber hits the road, I need facts.
Yeah.
I need facts. So I'll talk to you about it all day. I'll joke around and think that, sure, it could be them. Like, it makes sense. But so could these 10 other theories be it. I've never seen anything confirming that the CIA did it, okay? Mm-hmm. I think what people talk about and joke about is that so many people think the CIA did it that it's a joke at this point. Like, yeah, the CIA did it. Everyone knows the CIA did it. No, everyone just thinks they know the CIA did it. A lot of people also think that the mafia did it, okay? And the CIA was working with the mafia. A lot of people think that, it could be anything. It could be anything. But I think this is insane. The fact that he disappeared. He lived through it, right? So this book, The Man on the Grassy Knoll, they believe that he flew his own plane down to Mexico and started opening up oil, whatever, like looking for oil, gold, things like that, whatever. And they believe that he was killed in 1985 by a pickaxe because there was some sort of dispute about pay for the laborers that were on site at that mine, and that he was killed. But this guy, Charles Rogers, was declared dead in 1975, not because they found a body, but because enough time had passed that he was legally declared dead.
What if he is the one who built Coral Castle?
That would be crazy.
He just escaped because he's like all these like really smart things. Like, I don't know. That'd be so funny.
That's just insane. This whole story is insane. Yeah.
So the CIA agent that was found down there, how do they know that he knew him? Like, if they don't, because have they confirmed he was actually in the CIA? Like, they know for sure he was, or is that a guess?
I mean, there are no confirmations someone's in the CIA.
I know.
Yeah.
So how do they know he's even connected to that CIA agent that was, like, and how do they know the guy that was down there was a CIA agent?
Well, I described that earlier about, like, how they were invested in the oil industry and everything.
Oh, okay.
He's, like, the perfect recruit. So.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant the other guy that you said that was the connection that was confirmed to be
I'm not sure all those details, because I haven't read the book, but.
I want to read the book. Sounds interesting.
Yep. So, man on a grassy knoll. But, I just think this is crazy. This is super crazy, and I'm curious to know what you guys think.
It's pretty incredible people, like, dig that deep to where they, like, have a theory about how he died by a pickaxe and all of that. Like, how did they even find that? You know what I mean?
I'm not sure.
That's wild.
To me, it sounds like the whole thing was a setup, because if he's this smart and everything, he set up the scene to be found exactly how he wanted it to be found. This was on purpose. They had, if he was in the CIA, they had a purpose for him after this, and he didn't need the cover of his parents anymore, and he was finally able to, get back at him for all the abuse that they gave him. And this is not in any way a green light to say what he did was okay, because obviously you got to be psychotic to do something like that, especially when you have an actual doctor looking at this and being like, wow, this person knew what they were doing. They knew around a knife and a body, you know what I mean? It's wild.
I just don't understand why cut them up in perfect cuts of meat, package them, and put them in the ice box. Like, and I feel like that leaves questions, because they're like, why would somebody take all that time to, like, chop them up like they're gonna eat them and put them in the fridge like they're saving meat for the winter, and then just, like, leave? Like, that leaves so many questions. It'd be less questionable if you just murdered them and disappeared and just left the dead bodies there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Looking at it from, like, a conspiracy theorist point of view, which, again, I don't believe this, but what if he was involved in the plot to kill JFK, and he got some sort of surgery done to look like Lee Harvey Oswald, and he could only come home during times when it's dark so that nobody could see him, and he had to wait multiple years for it to calm down, you know what I mean? Wait 2 years for the heat to calm down after the murder.
He killed them, like, and
then once he got the okay to move...
So they were in there a long time, is what you're saying? Possibly.
No. What are you talking about?
Like I thought you were saying, like, he needed time, so
I'm talking about the JFK murder.
Oh, okay. But I thought you were saying, because I was asking why package them and put them in the icebox.
Yeah.
Like, is it to keep the bodies from stinking?
No,
like,
I just think that
is it symbolic?
Looking at it from the conspiracy theory, okay, he needed to wait for the heat to cool down and then do something crazy so that he's not looked at for the JFK murder. They look at him as a psycho, and then, you know what I mean? So it's like doing two things at once.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. I'll be putting some pictures up. There's not a whole bunch of pictures from this.
There's not.
But yeah, it is a very, very interesting case here, and I'm going to read more into it. That's for sure. Yeah, it's just wild. It's just wild. I'm sure he probably was in the CIA. Everything fits. He's the perfect operative here, and he was in the he was in the oil industry and just left for no reason. So nobody knows. Didn't give any reason whatsoever.
Wow.
They needed him elsewhere.
This is wild.